and the spirit that is within the African people. Now, in this era, we are now experiencing something called the Olympics. But as we cheer and celebrate and gyrate and speak great things about our performers, I must want to put to the eye them a sort of perspective of what this Olympics really is. Who benefits? Who are the slaves in the framework? Who are the owners? Because, you know, and I insist that we are still within the plantation framework. And so this Olympics is taking place within the global plantation. So we're going to look at the Olympics from that perspective. How do I, as the recently emancipated slaves, what is our role in this tremendous worldwide activity in which more money is made from it than the amount of people on the planet? Yeah, more money. Who is it that benefits from these monies? Who is it that is oppressed through these particular efforts? What is the role of the black people in producing the spectacle? So, for background information, the Olympics. What is the Olympics? We may know it as a set of games that are sporting events that takes place every 4 years. Obviously, it has a history, it has a story to it. And if you want to really check the origin of things, we have to go back into the era that we call BC, before the Christian era. Yeah, man, there were games, there was sport. The date that we have been given through the records is 776 BC as the date for the first of the ancient Olympic Games. 776 BC. Where were African people? Were we runners? Were we sportsmen? In 775 BC, when the Greeks launched their first Olympic Games. The Olympic Games came out of a movement of a festival, where the city-states of Greece would come together and have a festival, and within the festival they would have their games. But I want to bring it to the item now that the world and sports did not begin in Greece. And so if we were able to use that mental capacity and make that journey through time, we're going to find that there are sports in Africa. And that the Egyptians also had their Olympics. Yeah, we have to recognize that this is not a white man invention, you know, because the so-called Greeks organized it in the Western world. Black men are around a long time, and the evidence is there. We get glimpses of this now when we watch the movies, and we see Moses' era, and we see racing, but we see chariots are racing. We don't recognize that horse racing was an integral part of the Egyptian culture. And wherever there's horse racing, there are jockeys. So let us not feel that sports as an activity is an invention of the white man. The Chinese man also had his games. So there's a global approach to sport. There's a global approach to games. And what is common is that all people play. Yeah, play is the important psychological connection between all peoples on the planet. Yes, we are even connected to the animals who also engage in play. But if you look at the Olympics within the context of sport and games, when we look into the modern Olympics that really began in the 1890s, those Olympics would find that the black people were just recently released from chattel slavery. So we want to locate the first Olympics in the late 1890s. We recognize emancipation in the 1830s and 40s. So 50 years after emancipation, the first Olympic Games. We hold that in our meditation.
Southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze. strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. Pastoral scene of the gallant South.
Yeah, the sound of Billie Holiday. So as we begin our trace now of black people's representation at the Olympics, we have to look into the United States. Because it is in the United States that the people of African ascent would make their first move towards their own liberation through the avenue of sport. Yeah, because when we reflect on our own story, while Africans were enslaved, there was no time to play. So there's no playing on the plantation. The black man never engaged in play as a recreation. The black man's life was restricted to slavery, and slavery was equated to work. So in the period of our experience of being enslaved, play was not a concept that we could really readily embrace. However, when we examine the nature of play, play is not only about games, because you can also play instruments. And so though the Africans were not allowed to play organized games, the Africans were allowed to express themselves through playing of music. And a significant instrument in that playing was the drum. So the African people, though we weren't put in a position to enjoy recreational play as the owners would, our form of play expressed itself in the playing of music and also in dance. Because at the foundation of dance is play. You're playing with your movements and you're playing with sound. So the musicians play. They play sound. They play notes. The artist also plays. The artist plays with colors. So when we look into the psychology and the foundation of sports, we find play at the foundation. Animals play, birds play, fish play, man play. So you see the parents who talk about picnic play too much, it is because they do not understand the value of play. Yeah, play is an important element of our development. And when we look at the physical value of play, it helps in the development of bodily strength. It also helps with the development of your emotions. Because when you play, you release emotions, often emotions that are pent up. So it has an important psychological value. We don't want to diminish play because at a certain level, people think that once you play, you're an idler. So when you engage in games, you're idle. So when Bowles involved in a game of running and win billions, how can the man be idle? Yeah, Metamorphosis, exploring play, sport, and games.
I was traveling up the mountains one day, and suddenly I heard a voice come to I and say, behold, I come quickly to pay every man according to the work that he have done. And I know that it was the voice of the Most High.
So we're making like a tracing the psychology and the philosophy behind play, games, and sport. To sort of give I and the ones listening a broader perspective of how to look at what's happening right in front of our eyes. This thing called the Olympics. So we're saying that the modern day Olympics began in the 1890s. Now the organizers of the modern Olympics are the Europeans. And the Europeans are maintaining the tradition of the Greeks because the ancient Olympics were held in Greece, in a city called Olympia. And those Olympics were connected now to the pantheon of gods because the Olympics is really in honor of the god Zeus. Yeah, so there's honor and homage being played to the gods of Greece. So within that context, we find that entertainment, recreation are really the provinces of the slave owners. These are the people who have a chance to relax and recreate. And they recreate by playing games. Some of the early games that the wealthy played were games like archery. Yeah, man, archery, where you fire a bow, use bow and arrow, and see who can be accurate. So we remind ourselves of William Tell shooting the arrow off the youth's head. So those are the games. They also play things like croquet, what we call elite sports. So if we begin to examine sports, what they are, there's a class issue. There are sports that are supposedly reserved for people of the upper class. And there are sports that are reserved for people of the lower class. The lower class people, we call those sports mass-based sports. When we look at the Olympics, we can see that distinction. We can see the distinction between elite sports like swimming, like equestrian, like the pool diving, the horse riding. These are sports that when we look at them through the lens of time, these sports represent the elite sports. The tennis. But I'm going to show you over time how these sports have been invaded by the emancipated people. And we're going to see after 100 years who really controls the sport at two levels. The level of the performers and who controls sport at the level of the owners. Because remember, we're still on a plantation. And there are still owners, and there are still workers, and there are still slaves. And we're going to look at the Olympics within that fresh reference and begin to see whether anything has changed. And if so, what has been the significance of that change? So we're saying the sports are important. We're summarizing by saying play is biologically driven. All beings play. And if you lack play, you lack complete development, physically and emotionally. Play, however, can be transformed into games. Because play is something that you can do, it's self-directed. It's anything that really creates your own amusement. So there are no, what we call no rules. So when man begin to organize and insert rules now into his play, the play change. It moved from play to a game. Yeah, we have to see the transition, you know. And within that game now, there is an authority figure. Because somebody now must set the rules of the game. You know, some philosophers think that life is a game. And in life, somebody setting the rules. In relations, somebody setting the rule. And in a game, we have opposing forces. Is that any different from how we experience our daily life? So this construct of a game, it comes out of the culture. We'll give you an example of a game in the Jamaican culture. It's called The Brown Girl in the Ring. It's a game that comes out of a culture, but it emphasizes race and identity. Out of that game comes the notion of who is brown and who is black. So unconsciously, we carry information in our games. There are values that are codified in our games. So we want to use these things to help us as we go through the metamorphosis, to look at what is happening in front of our very eyes. This thing called the Olympics. That we're seeing games now at a more higher organized level. That we're going to call these things now sport. So there are three levels of perception, of analysis. There's play, there's games, and there's sport. And there's a difference significant between what is a game and what is sport. When we were youths, domino was not considered sport. Domino was a game. No, domino is a sport. What has happened to domino? Why domino move from game to sport? We play jacks, and jacks is a game. Jacks remain a game. What would we have to do to turn jacks into a sport? We have the capacity, you know. And the thing about it is that in a simple way to help you understand it, if you want to move from a game to a sport, you have to establish a governing body. And that governing body now is going to define the rules. And they're going to sanctions, and they're going to punish, they're going to penalize, and they're going to keep an order. So when we look at sports, we also must examine who are the persons making the rules, and to whom do these rules benefit. Metamorphosis. Yeah, the metamorphosis in a different mode. Still exploring, focusing on liberation. Liberation of the I. Because at the center of all of these analyses, is the I. And the more the I can over, is the more liberated the I becomes. Yeah, less cluttered by strange ideas and false beliefs. Begin to see the I for what the I is really value. So we're saying now, within the journey, to overstand this thing called the Olympics, there are governing bodies that are set up to govern play. Yes, play, them controlling, Let us not be fooled. Our playing is under control because our play is organized into games, and these games have these governing bodies. We're looking at the Olympics, and the Olympics is primarily a track and field athletics, and it's the most, let us say, is the event that has all sports combined. Unlike the World Cup of football, which is only football, and the World Cup of cricket, which is only cricket, the Olympics engages almost all sports, except a few. Now, athletics, where the Caribbean people, the African people generally, have proven over the last 100 years to be the dominant force. No ifs, ands, or buts. Simply climaxed this year by what happened in London by the magnificent trio. Yes. Now, the governing body of athletics is the IOC. And the IOC is a European founded organization, rests up in Europe. And IOC has over 200 nations that are members of it. Now, the IOC, International Olympic Committee, is a larger governing body than the United Nations. What me say? I say the man them who control our play and games have an organization that's bigger than the UN. Formed in the 1890s, just after they decided to emancipate the Africans and realize perhaps that we are going to go into this arena and somebody must control it. So the IOC set up himself. Along with the IOC, by 1904, there's another international body that sets up itself. And this also controls a mass-based sport. So what I'm saying to the item now, it appears that the sports in which the black people are about to become dominant in, these areas now are now being controlled at the governing level by the same men who control us when we are on the plantation as slaves. So the FIFA now controls the football, which is playing, 22 man running down a ball, heights are ramping that. And the IOC controls the other side. And both of them have over 200 members in their bodies. So we see that sports and games now may be even more important to the world than the political and the civil world. Because more nations are attached to these sporting organizations than even the WHO or the WTO. So I want to recognize now the importance of sport into the world and the relationship now between this sporting power and consciousness and the African people. What have been our role in building sport to be this multi-billion dollar industry? Who is it that controls the industry? Who is it that benefits the most? So we see that now, by the time the slaves have been released from the plantation, they were encouraged now to go into sports. There are 3 areas that Africans were encouraged to put their energies in after emancipation. 3 areas. One was entertainment, one is religion, and the other is sports. And again, if you look over the last 100 years, those are the 3 areas that the black people have dominated. We have dominated religion, produced some of the most fanciful preachers with the most lyrics and dressing. We have produced some of the most outstanding preachers. In the world of entertainment, we have produced the greatest musicians and the singers. We have that locked. And in the field of sports, the Olympics is now the measure of the greatness of a people and a nation. Who are the great people in the Olympics? Who have been the greatest performers in the Olympics? Unquestionable, it has been the black people. But there has been a problem because in this greatness, we have been told by the same white people that we are only great physically. And they've tried to diminish our greatness and limit our intellectual and psychological and mental skills. So we're feeling as though we are great runners, but we're dunce. And a lot of the wealthy people, a lot of the elitist people have taken up that ideology and have linked dunceness with players. And the ideology that has been developing in Jamaica is that if you play sport, you're not intelligent. Yes, and that has been causing a deep problem in our society. So rather than sport being a liberating force here, it makes one wonder whether sports is still under the whip of the Bucky Master. Metamorphosis.
Coulda, don't stop. 6 killer, that's just it. RDX, for the girl. Every guy.
Yeah. Okay, that's more like it. That's more like it. That just came out of Cyber. Flip. The black, the African people drifting off the plantations in North America and in the Caribbean, searching for employment, no educational skills, no economic power, no political connection. How do these people begin to take the lives into their own hands? What will be the route for the upliftment and development of the emancipated people? Sports becomes the avenue. Yeah, sports. Yeah, we're making a historical trace of black people and their involvement in sports. Why is it this Olympics is so transfixing? Why has it captured the entire planet's imagination and the events that are taking place? So we say that now, 50 years after emancipation, the Europeans formed their sporting associations, the IOC and FIFA. And these two governing bodies are going to control now what we call the mass-based sports. The sports that the majority of African people try to penetrate. Now visualize this now, you know. Them let you go off of the plantation. We don't have no educational skills. We don't have no resources. We don't own the land. All we have is our body. We're too long on and we're 2 foot. And we have our head and our shoulder. And we don't have nothing else. Yeah, we have been stripped bare. Name gone. Culture gone. Language gone. We name John Brown now, and Thompson, and son of William. All of these alien names. And we are now emancipated. What that mean? It means chains have been taken off. We are redefined from chattel and slaves to workers. But our social and economic conditions have not changed. So the world is progressing, and the African must find a way to help himself. So you know what we turn to? We turn to a physical being. What is it we have in our physical capacity that we are able to generate some sort of self-respect from? What can we do to generate some revenue from? And you know, when you examine play and games, the European always had his games. His games were recreational. Recreational meaning these games are for fun. But there are some other type of games, and we call those games competitive. And in the competitive level of play, the issue is to win or to lose. Recreational play means there's no emphasis on winning. There's no emphasis on losing. You're just playing because you want to have fun. When we transform ourselves from fun play to serious play, it becomes competitive. And in that competition, we find that we go into the psyche and the mentality of the competitors. We find that the realm called sports is the arena in which everybody is supposed to get an even start. In other words, it is the arena where the playing field is level. In the economics, it's uneven. In the politics, it's uneven. In the social and the educational, it's uneven. The area in which the playing field is supposed to be level is in sports. There's a referee in almost all the games to ensure that the participants obey the rules of the game. So anybody who wins a competitive sporting event should win out of their own merit. Because the referee is there to make sure there's fair play, there's equanimity, and it's a level playing field. So guess what happened now? It is into this arena now that the black man would step. Black man would step onto this level playing field and begin to demonstrate that he was no longer a slave and that he really had powers and abilities to uplift himself. The first sport in which the black man really made an intervention in the United States was baseball. And baseball was a white man game. It was an American pastime. But the Africans who were emancipated in America also tried to find time to play baseball. America was so racist that they developed two leagues. They developed a black baseball league and they developed a white baseball league. And the black baseball players were led by a player called Josh Gibson. Josh Gibson is the greatest home run hitter in the history of baseball. But in that time, because he played in the black leagues, he was unrecognized. Who was recognized was a white fat man called Babe Ruth. Not only was Babe Ruth recognized as a great home run hitter, they made a candy bar after him. And people would have to eat Babe Ruth. Josh Gibson, of course, was ignored because he played in the Negro Leagues. So the revolution, the resistance now to slavery at the ideological level moved away from the field into the playing arena. There's a more dynamic area in which the black man made an entrance. This is just about in the 1900s now. And this intervention was made in the field of boxing. Because we have always been fighters. We, the black people, we have always been fighters. And the arena of sport provided the game called prize fighting. Prize fighting is boxing. And in the culture of sport, the white man thinks that this is a prestigious field to show his superiority over all other people. Why? Because boxing is a one-on-one struggle. It's a confined area. You really can't run out of the ring. So you have to fight until the end. The end can mean death, you know. Yeah, the end can mean being knocked out. The end can be maimed. So it was one of the most brutal events that could be entered. The white man felt that he was superior and that he should be the champion, heavyweight boxer of the world. That was going to be interrupted by a man called Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson in 1908 defeated the Australian to become the heavyweight champion of the world. No, you see, in 1900s, for a black man to be the heavyweight champion fighter in the world. Not only was it embarrassing to the white man, but Jack Johnson also began to have white girls. Because the white girls, them go anywhere the money is. And Jack Johnson began to challenge now the racial discrimination that was being imposed on black people. Because as a heavyweight champion, you know, it means no man can beat you. You're the baddest man on the planet. In the way we have the fastest runners on this planet. Black people using sports as a site of identity and a site of resistance to all forms of ism. Yeah, Metamorphosis continues. And of course, African World Affairs, our story, continues as a feature in the Metamorphosis. And within the context of looking at the Olympics, we look at what is the contribution of Africans now, in general, to this movement called the Olympics. Is it that the Africans, or isn't it obvious that the Africans have been the raw material to create the excitement in this thing called the Olympics? Raw material, you know. And I'll show you why. But before we even come into the present, we speak about the pyramid building, the culture of ancient Egypt. Earlier I mentioned that the Egyptians were experts at racing. But if you think a little bit deeper about the nature of games and sport, and I ask you the question, what do you think is the most ancient game? What do you think is the most ancient game within mankind? What kind of game you think man has played from thousands and thousands of years ago? You can text if you want, 453-1444. What do you think is the most ancient game that man has played or played? We also have an international number, that's true. But, yeah, you have to call upon that. I will soon tell you how it go. But we're asking the question, what do you think is the most ancient game that I and I have played? No, I will assist the ones them in this quest. Because, hear me now. Remember I said that a game is really a sort of situation that comes out of the culture in which they are opposing forces, sometimes expressed in chasing and a catching, or a hiding and a seeking. There's always this tension in our games. So I ask the question then, what then is the original game? No answers? Well, hear this now. Two things I'm going to say. I'm saying one of the most foundation, cultural formation that could be generated and expressed as a game is sex. Yeah, it's a game. No, we're not going to talk about that game right now. We're talking about another game, which is even more ancient. Well, it can't be more ancient because sex is what keeps us alive. But in terms of thought process, the word game, the first of the games were developed around words. And the first word game is a riddle. Think about it, It's a game, It's a game of strategy. It's where you hide information. They talk about some events in time where people lose them life because they can't answer the riddle. Yeah, man, the riddle is posed, and it takes a lot of understanding to search through the material. Sometimes they hide where information is hidden, and you must search for it. So these are games. Another game is the crossword puzzle. So games don't mean you have to be engaged with other people, We have individual games where you can sit by yourself and you alone play. Yeah, man. So a long time we're playing. You see in ancient Africa now, besides playing and dancing, the Egyptians invented the game called chess. Yeah, that's an African invention now, And chess is a game of war. But the war has been modified and codified that we don't want to shoot one another anymore. Look at the Africans, black people been through this history thousands and thousands and millions of years ago. Where war is a part of nature. Animals have war, insects have war, so man have war. And I'm suggesting that maybe in the evolution of consciousness, war was taken out of the practical and put into a sort of theoretical framework. Just like how you see man play Ludo now. Ludo war, Yeah, man a kill man and man a boundless and heavenless. It's death, But it's set up in such a way that it doesn't damage the environment nor people. And you can release those emotions that are vital to maintain your balance. That's the importance of play. So the Egyptians developed the game of chess. And chess is a highly intellectual game. Yeah, man. You see moves, four moves on the road and take days to done sometime. Strategy, battle. No. Look at we as African people with that mentality now. And you're going to tell us because we run fast, we're not bright. You're going to disconnect our mental capacities because we are demonstrating our physical strength. We have to come out of that mindset. The ancient Africans at their own Olympics, we had running. Yeah, definitely had running. What else we had? We had horseback riding. So when we look into ourselves and look at this modern Olympics, that we are the dominant force, and we look into the identity now of the people who are running. We see the blackest people running for England and Germany, and you see the same thing in football. So because we are going, you know, there seems to be a movement of African talent. We don't talk about minerals anymore, you know. With them taking, you know, they're taking out the people. The people are the resource, and the skills and the talent, and they're making money off our head, and we are performing because we love it. Waking up time.
Son, who is that knocking out there? The African postman, that African postman. Telegram said, sons and daughters of His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie, her rightful ruler. Without many apologies, say, this is the time when I should come home. Yes, Jah. A holy folk. Come on, holy folk. Now let go, hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on. Come on, holy folk. We are holy folk. We are holy folk. Come on, holy folk. This African folks. Come on, holy folk. African folk.
Yeah, Metamorphosis here.
Telegram was so interesting.
Looking at the role of African people now into the spectacle called the Olympics. We never talk about World Cup football yet, you know, and the impact of Africans, you know, and the English Premier League and all them places there, you know. We just talk about athletics. And now England, the country that is still our head of state here. England produced a runner from Somalia that becomes a gold medal winner. I mean, just hear a reason with Jack and say, why them couldn't train that man to be a scientist, though? Yeah, man, we have all these potentials, you know, but what I'm saying to you, it has been leaned up into athletics and sports. So our pyramid building skills have been transformed into running and jumping and prancing. And we have identified that and make the correction because the owners of the stadium and the owners of the media have no interest in African people awakening from this slumber. So besides the African contribution continuously to the Olympics and the world of sport generally, we must also make mention now of the African women, because athletics in the European perspective was a man thing. That's how it developed in Europe. The women couldn't run. Women couldn't participate. Women were slaves in European culture. The white man has enslaved the white woman for a long time. The white woman has developed her own liberation movements, free herself from her own white man. The black women have been empresses and queens in the world of sports. They too have been denied the opportunity to get into the political and the economic and the social and the educational systems. So they too have used up their physical and mental abilities to play. And not just play recreationally now, because the European has this thing called competitive play. And from that he developed what he calls business. So the European has developed what is called now the sport, or the business of sport. While the Africans have been locked into the amateur recreational concept of play, the Europeans have moved play to work. Now, you remember earlier I said to you, on the plantation, work to the African was slavery. Because work was what it was enslavement, forced labor. But in the European context of his own perception of things, there is such a thing called play, separate from work. It just so happens that in the world of sports, serious competitive play also becomes work. We have to recognize that play then can become work. Once we surround play with an economic philosophy, it becomes work. The black woman in North America has made her input into getting into the world of sports. You know, in the 1930s in the United States, in an elitist sport called tennis, there's a black woman called Althea Gibson. Althea Gibson is the first black woman to go to Wimbledon, to win a Wimbledon title. We think Wimbledon was created recently and just Venus and Serena are the champions. No. There is a lineage, and the lineage goes way deep into America. Althea Gibson. Then on the male side, there is Arthur Ashe. These are black people who have made significant marks and penetrated the halls of culture of certain sports that the Europeans consider to be elitist. So Arthur Ashe, Althea Gibson in America penetrated the world of tennis. Earlier I said in terms of baseball, there was Jackie Robinson in the 1940s playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Became the first black man to play in the white major leagues. So black people have been using their sporting talents to break down walls of racial discrimination and oppression. The women in the Caribbean here, led by the Jamaican women, have been sprinters. As early as the 1930s, our Jamaican women began to win medals in regional games. So it's no accident that out of Africa have come representations of speed, strength, and endurance that the Europeans lack naturally. And so a lot of black people now have become transformed through the process of immigration, that they now represent European nations. Man blacker than me, running for nations whiter than snow. And in the mix, at the foundation of the strength of the black people, thing that keeps them all in one unity, that the fact that they're Africans, and the fact that, the blood of Africa, the melanin of the skin, is the power.
African children are living in a concrete situation.
African children, sprinters coming out of West Africa, distance runners coming out of East Africa. And if there were any pools in Africa, we'd have some of the greatest divers. but the terrain. Yeah, the terrain that is creating the greatness of the runners. African children coming out of East, West, North, South, and Central Africa. Running like lightning. Bold.
A crying and a flying to the council for assistance. Their tribulation, it's so sad. Their environment, it is so bad. High-rise concrete, no backyard for the children to play. African children are living in a concrete situation. African children, well, they don't know where you're coming from. African children, African children. All the people, what they think in these tenements.
Yeah, in-house studio reasoning. You know, it just dawned upon I and I that the black man in America, does he really see himself as an African? Because the Caribbean people, we know say, we is African. And the man on the continent of Africa, know say, them is African. We get the feelings of the black man in America think that they are American. Carl, wake up my you. In a slumber.
How many African children, they're right here in the carnival. How many African children, they must know where we're coming from. Special request to the Halstead posse. Special request to the Paddington posse. Special request to the Brixton posse. Special request to the Laverne Grove posse. In a concrete situation, African children, they don't know where you're coming from. African children, down there, in a concrete, oh, African children. They don't know where you're coming from.
Yeah, African woman sprinting away, Wyoming Matayos, Gail Divas, Jesse Owens, 1936 Olympics. Yeah, destroy the mythology of Hitler and his white supremacy ideology. First man to win 4 gold medals. Usain have that in his mind. Not manifested yet. But the greatness of Jesse Owens cannot be overlooked. An African running for the United States. Unlike these Americans now, who call themselves, these black people who call themselves Americans. Jesse Owens, African child. And Hitler in the 1930s brought his ideology of Nazism to the world and tried to prove that white people, the Aryan race, was superior. But at the Olympics, where everybody gets a level start, the mythology was destroyed. Because at the start of the gun, the white man didn't get the lead. He couldn't move off, he had to stay until the gun fire. When the gun fire, he couldn't catch the black man. So it is sports that is given this so-called level playing field to test your true abilities. As in the world of sports, that emancipated people began to show value. That they were not just chattel. They were not just things to be owned by white people. But they had their own dignity. They gained their psychological self-confidence by defeating white men now in the arena of sport. So when the white man invented these sports such like cricket, and it brought into the Caribbean by the British soldiers and the wealthy white people, and the Africans here take up this game. Not only take up the game, we transform it into a weapon of resistance to colonialism and the ideology of racism. Yeah, it is cricket that the Caribbean people use to develop a sense of identity now of this being called a West Indian. Because remember now, we couldn't call ourselves Africans anymore. We were so ashamed that nobody would call themselves African. So in this rebirth, we were reclassified down as West Indians. And it is through the sport of cricket and the works of men like George Headley and the captain Frank Worrell. It is these individual men now who would use this cricket as a vehicle to transform African people from a sense of no identity to a sense of champion. And so we know we even can defeat the colonial at its own game. That brought a lot of self-confidence to a recently emancipated population who were told that black no good. We also need to know that in the West Indies cricket team in its original days, the team was made up of all Englishmen. Yeah, there were no black people in the team. When black people were introduced, it was as bowlers and fielders, not as batsmen. Because batting required what they call intelligence. Yes, and bowling and fielding required no intelligence. And so when the Africans entered cricket, the white man didn't expect us to bowl him out. He would get angry when we bowl him. Yeah. Take up a marble and left, pull out the stumps out to the ground and go on him yard. Him don't play. So we just start use bamboo and thing and bat, when him gone with them pretty bad. And we just have no pads, so we get brave. The man come hard and we stand up and show courage. So, cricket is an important avenue, particularly in the Caribbean, for black people to move from chattel slavery to West Indians to begin to talk about political independence. Yeah, man, out of the cricket, Because out of the cricket, the Caribbean islands begin to recognize that, first of all, we need a black captain. That was the first thing. Because all the captains of the Western side were white men. Again, holding on to that leadership role to prove superiority in the race. And we're very blind to this in the Caribbean, but in the United States, it's very obvious. America is built upon a racist line. So when Frank Worrell became the first captain, after a lot of agitation by men like C.L.R. James and other people in the media, the leadership role become obvious now. That here's the argument now. Look, you see, if a black man can lead the West Indies team, why black people can't lead their own country? That became the paradigm and the reasoning. And so out of cricket and the capacity to lead, the idea came that we must begin to start lead ourselves. So I'm trying to show the idea, this is sports. Don't take sports simply, Because out of sports, we train our leaders. And we break down barriers that are set up by alien forces. So leadership has been an arena where we have no formal training in. But guess what happened? You see, in sports has become the perfect avenue to develop leaders. Because hero games go now. Remember earlier I said, you have an individual game, you by yourself. No problem. If you play with somebody, a peer get involved, and two you're going to play with somebody else, they need cooperation. First thing now, cooperation. If the number goes to 3, not only cooperation you need, you need leadership. Because 3 men can't go in three different directions one time. Somebody have to begin to be in charge. Others have to begin to learn to cooperate with who's in charge. It's out of sports that we learn leadership. And if you can't lead a man in sports, you can't lead a man in politics. Yeah. How are you going to lead a man in politics and you can't lead yourself? Yeah, man. And if you look at the tradition, a lot of politicians, when they can't go no further, them go into sports. A lot of sportsmen wisely move into politics because they have leadership skills. We see it in the cricket, we see it in the football. Man like Pele, I become the Minister of Sports. Imran Khan, Minister of Sports in the Pakistan government. Wesley Hall, cricketer. It's no joke. Metamorphosis.
Zion blood is flowing through my veins.
So we're looking at African world affairs and Africa in the history of the Olympics. And it's really the African blood that holds all of these people of African ascendancy together. It is a thing that makes all of these people come on. The fact that they have African blood. But I'm going to speak of something else now that makes us even more powerful in our performances. It is the melanin, the African skin. You know, that is what them don't want to tell you why we can run fast. They might draw up on theory about slavery. They might draw up on theory about the food that we eat. But may I say, let us explore the theory of the melanin. And that it is the melanin that makes us able to jump and prance and go at super speed. Michael Jordan jumping 10 feet tall and spinning around and coming back down on the ground. It is the melanin that we must begin to pay attention to. What is the connection between the melanin and our capacity to express ourselves highly and clearly? Because it is the melanin that is absent in the European. Look at all the sprints. No white man can sprint unless he's heavily doped. No white man can sprint because speed and inbound capacity is connected to the movement of the melanin in our skin and the level of energy that we can generate from our solar cells. So it's coming like we have a solar power, you know. It's like we are driven by solar power. And them don't want to tell we. They don't want to know that it is solar energized cells in our skin that make us go fast. We are supercharged. And this is why both freeze up in the place where they when them go as Czechoslovakia go race where they and do something like 10-2 in the ice box. I freeze the bolt freeze, you know. Yeah, man. So the energy and the melanin is the power that gives the black man and the black woman her speed, strength, endurance. You see, even when we factor in climatic conditions and the fact that the East Africans live in high mountains, travel tremendous distances, have great stamina, and we look in the Caribbean, we find that people here are sprinters because we used to run from the Englishman and the horse them all the while when them chase way. Up through the mountain, horse a run down man and can't catch man. You see all of that? It is the melanin. It is the pigmentation of our skin that gives us the power and the will. Not only run fast and jump high, but to build pyramids and sphinxes, the artists, scientists. Yeah, we're just wrapping up our little discourse here on women in the terms of the African woman and her contribution to the excitement at the Olympics. And you notice the women, it all started in the United States because really that is where sports is highly professional. And in the United States, Africans had an earlier chance to use sports as an escape, as an avenue. It can be deceptive. And here we have now some perspectives. There are two main ways of viewing sport, according to the theorists. One perspective would label you as a functionalist. The functionalist is the person who thinks that sports has a good value for society, and it helps to keep things organized and gives you outlet for expression and so on and so forth. They call it functional. There are some other theorists now who challenge that view. They call themselves conflict theorists. For example, a man like Karl Marx is considered to be one of the founders of conflict theories. What the conflict theorists suggest is that sports is really used by the very wealthy to control the will of the oppressed. Yeah, I'll say it again. Karl Marx, in his original version of view of religion, stated that religion is like a drug. Religion is an opiate of the masses. It keeps the people stupefied. Well, sports is not much different from religion in that perspective. And so sports, if we're not careful, is now like a drug. It's like an opiate. And it's all about who is distributing this drug. The black women, of course, as we're trying to come into this segment, they have made such a significant input to the development of sports. In tennis, in athletics, and in our own case, right here at home, we produce some very, very great female runners. Right now, we have the fastest woman over the 100 meters right here in Jamaica. But we're going to pay a little bit of tribute to one great runner called Merlene Ottey. And Merlene Ottey, coming out of the rural parts of Jamaica, transcended the normal female in terms of her endurance. Merlene has not won a gold medal in her several appearances at the Olympics, but now we know why. Because the Balco drug scandal that was out in America recently has helped to bring the playing field level. Because the playing field was not level before. The Americans and the Russians had an edge that was, motivated by science and technology or use of drugs. Merlene Ottey, in her time, never really had the opportunity to be involved in that type of nefarious activity. And on that basis, women like Flo Jo, again, black women, have been put on the stage where she has now the world record that everybody questions because of the nature of the whole drug use. But again, it's all about black people. So the conflict theorists would suggest that sports does not benefit black people generally. What sports does is use black people's energy for the benefit of the very rich whites. This is the nature of the conflict theorists, that the Africans are being used for the benefit and the entertainment of very, very rich people. And that if a man makes $2 million running, the manufacturers make $200 million. So Usain Bolt sells 200,000 shoes for Puma in 10 minutes. That is about a fraction of what they pay him. Is it that we are beneficials? Or is it that there's a greater picture? And is it that the owners of these sporting arenas, is it that they are the ones who are really making all the benefit? So we hear the women, we have African presence, our local women have been leading our track and field for the last couple of years. Originally, the men were in front. The women have stepped up and they have maintained their tradition. Metamorphosis. Moving into the Olympics of 1968. This is the Metamorphosis. Dr. Iman Blak right here inside the FM. In studio with the super engineer, Dr.
See, I was born and raised in the slums of the city. It was a one-room shack that slept in other children beside me. We hardly had enough food or room to sleep. It was hard time. Needed something to eat my trouble, man. The meaning of work. He disrespected mama and treated us like dirt. I left home seeking a job that I never did find. Depressed and downhearted, I took the cloud. I'm doing fine up here on cloud nine. Listen, one more time, I'm doing fine up here on cloud nine. Folks down there tell me, they say give yourself a chance, son, don't let life pass you by. But the world of reality, the rat race, where only the strongest survive. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and that ain't no lie. It ain't even safe no more to walk the streets at night. I'm doing fine on cloud.
Yeah, Metamorphosis. Reminding ourselves of an era of the 1960s in the United States. Because the Olympic movement is strong in America. It is strong in Russia. It is strong all over the world because there are over 200 nations that are part of this movement. Now, originally, it was all about recreation. Olympic was about people trying to show their stamina, individual strength. There was not much what you call nationalism attached to the Olympics. It was all about non-nations, about individuals representing themselves, not so much politics necessarily attached to it. But the politics has always been there because we cannot separate politics from sport. Because within sport, we have racial issues. Within sport, we have contestation. Within sport, we talk about domination and oppression. So, by the 1960s, the Olympics, well, as early as the 1930s, as I said earlier, Hitler tried to use the Olympic to push his ideology of Aryanism. The Olympics of the 40s, 48, 52, we are commemorating the London 52 Olympics. Jamaica made an important intervention, winning gold medal and silver medals. So our Olympic history of high pedigree started in the 1948 and 1952 Olympics. We are a highly experienced country at athletics. We are a first world power in athletics. We are a first world power in sprinting. That has been dominated, that has been demonstrated over the last couple of days. Now, in the early 60s, 1960, for example, there was an Olympics. And in that Olympic emerged a boxer by the name of Cassius Clay. Cassius Clay would later on transform himself into Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali would also demonstrate to the world that he is the greatest. He was the greatest boxer. And here is a black man in the tradition of Jack Johnson, in the tradition of the Brown Bomber, Joe Louis, coming through the North American scenario, being the heavyweight champion. But Cassius Clay went to the Olympics and he won a gold medal. The thing about Cassius is that when he went back to America with his gold medal, he was still considered to be a nigger. He was still considered to be a second-class citizen. And so it burned Ali to the bone. Cassius Clay. It burned Cassius to the clay, let him throw away the medal. Now, this is a gold medal that you see people fighting for in the Olympics today. Ali threw away his medal into the river because he was so hurt by racism in America. Ali would go on to be the heavyweight boxing champion. He would join the Nation of Islam and begin to make the first connection between sports and religion. Ali merged sports and religion and politics. And he became a spokesperson now for black people via sports. I hope Bolt and these other men are listening. That he became a spokesman in defending the rights of poor black people. Muhammad Ali, a boxer. Are we using our position in sports positively to influence the masses who need help? It's a question we have to really put to all our successful athletes. So Muhammad Ali becomes a legend. Yeah, Muhammad Ali defies the United States government and refuses to go to Vietnam to fight to kill Vietnamese. Ali insists that the Vietnamese did him no wrong. And he loses his crown to the American establishment, who thinks that Ali is becoming too political. But Ali has a consciousness. He had a black consciousness. And that black consciousness of Muhammad Ali joined the Nation of Islam, taking off the white slave name of Cassius Clay, was an important movement in the liberation of black consciousness internationally. Muhammad Ali showed that a boxer not only had fists, but he also had a mind. Ali began to write poetry. Ali began to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Ali became an international icon and a representative of black people in the liberation struggle. When we get to the Olympics of 1968 in Mexico City, for the first time, the black consciousness struggle reaches a high point in North America. And the Americans would win the 200 meter, first and second place, John Carlos and Tommy Smith. And on the podium, these two black men would demonstrate something that would shake the world. It would shock white America. And it would bring the consciousness to the black people in Africa and the Caribbean. Tommy Smith and John Carlos went on the podium, barefooted, and they have now become known for the famous fist black power salute. So the point I'm making is that in the realm of sports, black man found an avenue to express his political ambitions. And where he'd been frustrated in America by poverty, yet he was winning medals and giving America all his titles. When he went back to America, he was a second-class citizen. It happened to Jesse Owens. The American president refused to meet Jesse Owens after his victory. So Owens said it wasn't Hitler who snubbed him. It was the American president. And so racism always rears its ugly head in the avenue of sport, because in sport, the black man has an even chance. And in that even chance, the black man shows his superiority in mind and body. It is the 1960s where soul was important, and all the black people were rallying around the concept of soul. We were soul people who produce soul music, who cook soul food, who wear soul in our heads as our hair. We were soul people. And the runners and the athletes recognize themselves as soul people, black people, getting an identity through sports. In the United States, particularly through boxing and athletics, baseball, tennis. All of these are being used to transform the black man from a chattel into a person with identity. Now, as we talk about the athletics, you know, the interest is always about on sprinting. Who is the fastest runner, male or female? We seem to be obsessed with speed. Maybe because our journey coming here was a fast one, or maybe because when the sperm is released, it's about a race. Yeah, when the sperm is released, it's a race, you know. Who first can get there? So maybe the culture of racing is in our makeup. Car racing, horse racing, dog racing, rabbit racing. We just love to see things race. Now, within all of that now, time has been an important factor. Who can run the quickest? Who can use the less time to cover certain distances? Now, you see the 1 mile race, 600 meters. At one time, nobody could go below 4 minutes. There was a psychological barrier that a man couldn't do a mile in less than 4 minutes. That barrier was broken by, if I'm not wrong, Roger Bannister. Roger Bannister was an Englishman, I think, and a doctor. And he was the first man to go below 4 minutes, 3:59 something. And the whole world got the breakthrough because these things are mental. Now, you see the 100 meters, which is the shortest, the fastest race really. We have 60 meter sprint, but 100 meters is the shortest sprint race recognized. There was a time when man couldn't go below 10 seconds, you know. Yes, 10 seconds was the record. 10 seconds, you know. No, the first man to go below 10 seconds, it was an African. But this African was running for America. And sometimes the people who run for America think that they are not Africans, that they are Americans, causing a serious identity crisis and discrimination against other black people who recognize themselves as Africans. So Bobby Hales is the first black man to go under 10 seconds. When Hales did 9.9 seconds, the whole world light up. It was an impossibility to conceive at that time. Bobby Hales' career went into NFL, National Football League, at the end of his running career. He was a wide receiver. I think he played for the Dallas team. A lot of the black runners in America, at the end of their running career, go into the NFL. Because the NFL is really a different sport but it requires the same physical abilities to be a top-class runner. Now, today, the world record is not a matter about being under 10 seconds. Nearly everybody now doing under 10. Nearly everybody doing under 9.9 now. Everybody doing 9.8 something. Man are doing 9.7. What Bolt did was 9.63. What is the world record? 9.58. So it is a black man who has been extending the boundaries. It is a black man who has been using his superiority in mental and physical capacities to break down these imaginary time barriers. And I tell you them, if you give Bolt enough time, he will erase the record of 9 seconds. Yeah, we are powerful. We are powerful. We are powerful. We are powerful people expressing ourselves through culture. The culture of sport, play and games. No idleness. Because play and games are far removed from idleness when we surround them with economic philosophies. So the game becomes a earnings center. That infrastructure becomes crucial to the development now of the people who are performing. And what we find lacking, seriously, particularly in the Caribbean, is infrastructure for sporting development. Yet everybody knows there's sports black people using upgrade themselves. What does it say about those who are in governance? They can't see the importance of putting infrastructure in place, but there's tremendous amount of energy to be transformed into positivity. What it therefore leads to is the point wherein I can ask the question, after 100 years of black domination in sports, how many black people own stadia? Who are the owners of stadiums? How many black people own a stadium? How much black athletes? How many of the great boxers and basketball players and NFL players, how many of those people own a stadium? We don't own nothing. Yeah, we are excellent at performing. The same thing in the entertainment arena. Where is an entertainment center built by the entertainers themselves? All claim to be waiting on government. Why do you think government are going to build infrastructure for black people? Why will the governments want to see the black people become self-reliant? That's not the interest of the governance. The governance interest is to hold the status quo and to maintain that the emancipated slaves remain slaves. Emancipated but mentally and economically enslaved. So our potential for development rests in harnessing infrastructure for sports. And in a country like Jamaica, where we are the dominant sprint factory, we are the sprint factory of the world, yet the high schools lack infrastructure. And it's out of the secondary schools all of our great athletes come. The thing not set up properly, yet we're making milk and blood out of stone. We need help, and the help can come from those who have it and those who are benefiting the most. The manufacturers and the sponsors. Those who make the billions off the backs of the emancipated slaves who are now runners and jumpers, throwers. Yeah, Metamorphosis. Going through into the 1980s. And it's important that we keep our eye on the Olympic scene. Because after the 68 Olympics, with the black protests, the next Olympic in 1972 had bloodshed. Yes, there was bloodshed in the 72 Olympics in Munich, where the Palestinian people who are still being oppressed by the Israelis, where the Palestinians raided the Olympic village and captured some Israeli athletes and actually killed them. And the commanders were setting, and there was a serious amount of gunshot, gunfire, people died. The point is, sports is not just play. It is an arena for expression, a political will. It is a place where a small country like Cuba can make its presence felt by dominating a sport like boxing. It's an arena where small nations have representation, like the runner from Grenada, who gave Grenada his first gold medal. Yeah, man, black man again, small island, dominating the world in sports. Yet we don't have enough tracks. We don't have enough sports psychologists. There's no infrastructure. Because those who govern really don't want to say all of us driving cars and living well out of sports and entertainment. Because what I'm saying, it not take no brain. We need to shake away that mentality that is keeping us mentally enslaved. Metamorphosis, that's FM 96.1. Original music, the culture of the people. Liberation is what we need through sports, games, and play. Who's going to build the stadiums? Certainly not the government. Performers, let us become owners of infrastructure, stadia, and media. Iman Blak said that. I want to hail up Jah Child visiting the island. Give thanks for your like the bag of goodies. It smells good. Everything in the bag smells nice.
No sun will shine in my day today. No sun will shine. The high yellow moon won't come out to play. Won't come out to play.
Yeah, we're looking at the Olympics and its effect on black people and the black people's contribution to this spectacle, and the beneficiaries and those who are critics and those who are followers, a whole series of people, because all nations are attached. Over 200 nations are attached to this Olympic movement, controlled by the IOC. So our play is on the manners. Yes, our play. And people are earning from our ability to play. So we say the 72 Olympics was a bloody one. And people who try to separate politics from sports are living in an illusion. Because they are bedfellows. Even locally, when you look at our football, a lot of the politicians are now owners of clubs and presidents and all sort of engagement, because sport is public. Yeah, man, it embraces nearly everybody. And everybody has a game. Everybody has a game. Everybody plays a game. It may not be an internationally recognized game. Everybody plays. Everybody engages in the most fundamental game. And that game, as I said earlier, is sex. Yeah, it's a game, you know. Yeah, you can have winners and losers there too. Very often the game can even draw, where there is no score. Never go on. So, 72 Olympics, we see that politics and ideology come together in sporting arenas. What is the evidence of ideology in the 2012 Olympics? We see how the Americans are behaving. How the Americans are condemning everything happening in the Caribbean and Jamaica. How they're using imagery like drugs to discriminate against the performances. And who's saying it? People who have had the experience of being drugged. That's why they know. So there's a serious battle going on, because sports demonstrates how well you can organize your country now. And when nations meet against nations, it becomes international sport. International sport has attached to it a thing called nationalism. And nationalism can rise to fever pitch. And our runners brought nationalism to the highest level that Jamaica has seen it since the Reggae Boys of 1998. Where the entire nation is caught up in a frenzy of good feeling, important psychological energy. Give you the feeling that we can succeed against all odds. So we ask the question, how is it we can overcome all the odds in the world of sport, yet we are struggling in the world of economics, politics, society, and education? Why aren't we taking the lessons of how we organize in our athletics to organize the rest of our society? Yeah, because a lot of the people who govern the society are biased and discriminate against play. Their idea of play is that play is for idle people. Yet I am showing the item how play is work. And from the same work that is play, those same people beat up them chests and take out flags and talk about loyalty and patriotism on the backs of the enslaved population. We say something must give. The attitude must change. The universities must stop looking at sports as a non-activity. The high schools must stop viewing sports as a dumping ground. PE departments should be upgraded and given first-class facilities. There are schools right here in Portland who are over 200 years old and there's not even a computer in the PE section in a time like this. So we don't get the picture yet. We don't get the picture yet. We're still cheering and jeering the losers and cheering the winners. We're not seeing beyond play games and sport. We're not seeing the business. We're not seeing the development. We're not seeing the importance of liberation. The 72, violence. And by 1980, more political interference. United States and Russia, two superpowers clash. And one country decides to boycott the Olympics. And you tell me that the Olympics is non-political. That's a joke.
Whoa.
this major thing called the Olympics has captured our imagination right here in this present time. And the performances by these black athletes, because we're talking about race now. And we can't ignore race as much as the Christian world and the Western world try to have us ignore it. When we look at the Olympics, and we look at the games, we look at the events, we look at all of the field events, the mass-based sports, it's black domination. When you look in the pool, you see white people and you see Chinese. When you look in the gymnasium, at one time you used to see pure white people, but guess what happened now? I look at black girl surface named Gabby Douglas. And Gabby has won a gold medal. And it shocked the white world, because white people think say, all we can do is run and jump. But the point is, anything black people are exposed to, given an even opportunity at it, we excel. Anything. We just need more opportunity in the academic world, in the world of music, in the world of business, world of politics, science and technology. If our youths were given the same opportunity that they get in sometime in sports, then we would begin to really rebuild the African nation. Because we can't build a nation without scientists and doctors and people of high technology. We can't rebuild African nation without sportsmen and entertainers and preachers that can't do it. So we have to begin to use those three areas of our strength to transform the whole perception of ourselves. We have to see sports as an avenue, not just for resisting colonialism, not just an avenue for developing leadership skills, but an avenue for economic development. Yeah, when is it we are going to go into stadium building that we can control the media? Who owns black media? Where's the black people who own media? Yeah, where are the black owners of the media? We are still performers. So our great runners, the man of the moment, Usain St. Leo Bolt, Dr. the Honorable. I think if you want to really maintain your legendary status, as you claim you have now, to transform some of that wealth into buildings, if we begin to create institutions like build a Usain Bolt Stadium, yes, build something that will assist in the development from the infrastructural level. Build an academy for athletics. Yeah, we want the thing to become tangible. Because we've been riding the Bolt wheel from Beijing. We've been riding athletics from Beijing, and nothing happened after Beijing. And my fear is nothing's going to happen after London. And it's about time we, the black people, now recognize that we are not just the performers, but we must become the owners of our own skills. Yeah, we begin to own the infrastructure in which we perform, that we can start to rent out stadium too. And that's where the capital really is now, The owner of the stadium, the people who own Puma, the people who own Nike, the people who own the manufacturing goods that sportsmen wear. I see where one athlete had a watch on. And they tried to penalize him because the watch he was wearing was from a different sponsor. But I hear the watch worth $500,000 US. One watch. And all the man just wear it one time for the whole world, for 7 billion people to see him. People are now making DVDs about the athletics and selling them for thousands of dollars. Who is doing these things? Is it the runners? Is it the coaches? Or is it the owners of the industry called athletics? We need to step into that level of ownership, because ownership is power. Yeah, we'll bury America. Let them take your bojo, but we have the gold medal there. Them a big signal, we have the gold medal there. Empress Valerie, I'm on a yellow eye. Steve, Brother Dirks, over in Pasley, yeah, yellow eye. Steve,
And you even rob the blind. You must see one that in funeral.
hail up Patrick, up there in Norwich Heights. Hear the people in Bellevue and Titchfield Hill. People in Golden Grove, St. Thomas, Ossa, St. Catherine Passy, Maconen. Yes, you're there, my brother.
Now we know the truth. Yes, we do. We find you wearing the boot of taking people's business on your head. Yeah, so might as well you be dead. Them one time, come on them funeral, them claim say, them a the general, them one time, come on them funeral, them claim.
Now, the 1980s is the last decade where we will have the power conflict between these two superpowers, it's called Russia and America. Yeah, the 1980s, that will be the last decade of that struggle. And that struggle between America and Russia was demonstrated also at the Olympics. Because I see the Olympics and sports is really testing of what a society is made up of, you know. The amount of resources you put into it, or organized the athletes are in their preparation, training, and so forth. So Russia and America always use the Olympics as a battleground to prove whose system was superior. The Americans, of course, maintaining that capitalism and democracy is the best form of control. The Russians said communism and state-centered, state-controlled economies were the best way to go. When they got to the Olympics, the battle was about who could win most gold medals. And that would prove whose society is superior. The superiority or inferiority is something that you can establish in the realm of sports. Boxing, one against one, who is superior? Argument done. Running, who can go faster? The superiority, as much as we don't have to talk about it, that is the trademark of sports. So in the 80s, America and Russia were at odds to the point where Americans protested the invasion of Afghanistan by the Russians, and they refused to enter the Olympics of 1980. So the 80s and 84 goes through. By the time we get to the 1990s, the world has undergone a change. There is no more Russia, and there is no more America to fight as superpowers. But there is always a third country that always posed a threat to both Russia and America, and that is China. And China has been a power unto itself. Power in gymnastics, power in the swimming pool. They began to learn to run because they even had a hurdler. They tried to get in a relationship with Jamaica that we can exchange some of the Chinese resources for our resources in athletic coaching. And China has been a sort of challenge to the United States. If you look at this present Olympics, it is China and the United States that are battling for which country has the most gold medals. So when the Russian Empire was pulled down in 1990, there was no more Russia in terms of USSR. There was a simple Russia, and the countries went on their own. So America became, again, the sole power in terms of athletics. The 1990s also saw the end of the Berlin Wall and the breaking down of the Iron Curtain, which allowed athletes from Europe to come out of Eastern Europe, get into the mainstream. It also allowed the doctors and medical people of Germany to come over into the Western world. Now, there was always a suspicion that drugs was a part of athletics from the days of the early Olympics. In the early Olympics of ancient days, the man used to chew all sorts of roots to give them extra strength to run the stamina. The drugs has been a part of the Olympics from its inception. What is the problem now is that certain drugs now are being classified as illegal. And in this battle for use of illegal drugs, and in the battle to acquire medals, both Russia and America went into a very serious drug program. And the Russians were always accused of having their athletes under steroids. So were the Germans. Some of the German athletes used to look like men, and they said that they were women. So we always had a problem with the Eastern Europeans. They always looked very masculine, and the argument was that they were under drugs. In the United States, because they controlled the media, the imagery was that America was always clean, and it's the Russians who were unclean in terms of drugs. When the wall came down and everybody mixed up, America became a haven for all drug users. In sports, some of the best scientists of, medicines that were used in athletics were in Germany, were in Eastern Europe. All these men came into North America. So by the 1990s, the American athletic program makes a major boost. Suddenly we have people in America running at some fantastic speeds, inclusive of Flo Jo, inclusive of Marion Jones, Carl Lewis, Michael Jordan, Michael the runner. Yeah. All of these people found themselves doing some phenomenal times, and nobody could understand how and why. Our Jamaican athletes, Caribbean athletes, African athletes generally, unable to match up with these Africans who are running for America. What we really find out, in the long run, and it was busted by a Jamaican, that drugs were being used in American sports, and they were becoming perfect at the art of masking the drugs. So the whole Carl Lewis era, that whole Flo Jo era, was heavily laced with drugs. What caused the problem besides Trevor Graham, who spilled the beans, was a runner called Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, again, is a Jamaican youth, They say, well, enough. He's an African youth. He's a black man. Ben Johnson ran for Canada. And Ben Johnson ran at a time when Carl Lewis was at the top of his game and drugs were highly masked. And Ben Johnson did something that none of the Americans could really appreciate. He got some better stuff than the Americans. And then win the 100 meters. The Americans now, who were aware of their drug situation, realized that if Carl lost the race, then it had to be somebody who was on something even stronger. And so they investigated Ben Johnson. And Ben Johnson was stripped of his gold medal. And he was called a drug cheat. Simply because the Americans found out that somebody was ahead of them in the game. Our Merlin Atty has been denied gold medals for an entire decade because Merlin is clean. And our athletes in general have been clean. Bold. Tell them, say, Jamaican are clean. We are running for our lives.
a feather. We got to come together, cause we are birds of a feather. We got to come together, cause we are birds of a feather. Or there will never be, Lord of mercy, no love at all. There will never be, no love at all. We also got to realize we are one people. Yeah, got to realize.
Yeah, we listen to the sound of the Wailers. We are one people. Yellow Prestige. Yeah, the man locked in. I saw you say it as DJ, you know? People are locked in. Yes, maybe one day when I grow big up, I'll be a DJ too. Yeah, we are really one people, you know. We are one black African people. And it is demonstrated in our capacity to perform. You see, this athletics, it makes black, green, and gold come out of every corner. It's even more profound than the World Cup in 1998. Because it's a running, enough people don't understand football, you know. Football can look complicated, but it's a running, there's nothing to understand. Yeah, you just look, and you know, so you're trying to say who's going to go fastest. Yeah, who's going to jump the highest, who's going to throw the thing the furthest. Argument done. Football is style and pattern and personality, all kind of thing will confuse the game. So the more people in the world can attach themselves to athletics. And the emotion now is what connects to us. Because you will also cry with the athlete, you know. We show you how we call it vicarious experiences. Where you feel the feel, you suffer with the athlete, and you also experience the joy. Tears will come to your eyes, and you're not performing. It's just the level of the emotions. And the emotions are what govern I and I. That's why sports is such an important thing, because the sportsmen, first of all, have to learn to control their emotions. Yeah, it's an emotional thing. And it's the emotional energy we use to lift ourselves to such high places. That emotional energy now is stored in our skin. That's what I'm trying to tell you about black people now, you know. That emotional energy that allows us to jump higher and to run faster is not hidden in the food. It is hidden in our skin. We are solar power driven. We call it the energy by day, and we store it in our melanin, in our epidermis, and we'll have it there always. It's whether we can tap into it and get proper infrastructure for training, and most importantly, to have some of the greatest coaches. Because undoubtedly, Jamaica has the greatest sprint coach in the history of athletics. When one coach can have the two fastest men in the world in his camp on this one island, then we are truly Atlanteans. We are great, great people. It is just the man who controls the parliament that is insisting and maintaining the Willie Lynch syndrome amongst I and I. That is where the divide and rule principle comes out. Look at the festival song. Look how the music can divide the country. Eh? A festival song that's supposed to unite the people. It just split the country in two. And look at our athletes without even trying. Rally nation. Yeah, man, rally the nation. There is a lesson to be learned. But the man is not going to learn until the athletes become politicians. Yeah, man, athletes will have to become our leaders. Our sportsmen must begin to think seriously about governance. Don't think about politics, you know. Think about governance and your experience in leading men. There's a man who used to play cricket for the Caribbean named Brian Lara. Lara could be considered one of the greatest batsmen ever. But Brian Lara struggled with leadership. Pele was the greatest player in the world I've ever seen, but Pele was not the captain of the Brazilian national team, because leadership doesn't necessarily mean being the best performer. So we have to use sports as the vehicle to sight up or to advance ourselves as black people. We must stop feeling less of ourselves because we are great players and because we didn't go to the university. Because the university is another thing that's holding down players. University is trying to give you the impression that brain work is not applied by Usain Bolt, and that there's no brain work applied by Shelley and Fraser. But to understand the physics and when to go into the drive phase and when to ease out and the physiology of your own body and the psychology of running and competition, and you're going to tell me that these people have no brain? It's classism. Yeah, man. It's classism and biasism that is holding down this Jamaican nation, because our potential lies not in tourism. Our potential lies in sports, around which all other isms could be attached. So we could have sports tourism. Easy. But tourism should not be the front piece. It should be sports. Sports should be an industry, not us in Jamaica, but in the Caribbean. The same way hemp should be an industry. So if we had a sporting industry and a hemp industry running, we would truly be in paradise right here on Jamrock. This is the Metamorphosis. Stars FM. Iman Blak. In studio, live, living red, green, and gold. Yeah. Mind, a revolution in sports, revolution in play and games, revolution in our attitudes. Stop condemning man who can play because you can't play.
Too much frustration, so much confusion.
GC Foster should be a university. Yes, sports. We need a university of sports in Jamaica. Yeah, the new center of our economy must be sport.
So my friend, I wish you could see I got a bird in a tree.
The black people want to be free economically, and it can happen through sports. Yeah, no politician can help us in this. Individual businessmen, rich sportsmen and entertainers must set the pace. Portia Simpson Miller need to return to Minister of Sports. Yeah, Metamorphosis said that. If I run, make her run, make her run, make her run, make her run.
Blood and make them run. Rasta step on top. So them can't predict them.
Yeah, so right now Jamaica they're on top. We're on top of the planet Earth. With the fastest man and woman. What else? When the celebration is over, do we return to our corners? Become tribalistic again? Do we return to the PNP JLP divide? Do we return to the Christian, Baptist, Methodist, Rastafari, Pentecostal divide? Or can we hold that oneness of being black people? Very difficult, you know, because this environment doesn't promote black consciousness. So Usain Bolt is blacker than night, yet the country doesn't want to call itself a black country. Eh? We're struggling to create an identity called brown. Yeah, brown is a color in our crayon. And we're trying to capitalize B to turn these set of persons into people. Discrimination is strong in our land, and we can feel it. And when we look at the Olympics, we see all black people. We see no Chinese representation. We see no Indian representation. We don't even see much brown representation. We see black people carrying this nation on its back. And now that the party is going to come to a close, what do we do with our success in sport? How do we benefit from the success? Is it only the manufacturers and the men who dress up in jacket and tie, modeling around as they are in charge of these runners? Yeah, overseers, putting pressure on runners when they themselves can't even run. A lot of the administrators of sports have never played a sport in all their life. Now they turn governors. and they come and impose their class values and all their isms on the real workers who are the runners and the performers. So the things have to change, you know. But the change will come from within those who are performing. Yeah, we need some of the resources. When we check the life of the athletes in North America after they retired, nearly all of them broke. Which American athlete owns a team? One man tried, Michael Jordan, and in 2 tours he get run out of the business. So why say we can't own no teams? We can't own a team. We can only play and get injured and get hurt and then get fired. Where is our capacity to own? Marcus told us that ownership is power. And power we need in all spheres of life. In the economic, in the political, in the scientific. We have some in sports, but we don't have enough. We want to own stadia. We are looking for a Bolt Stadium. We're looking for a Safa Stadium. Even Oris Borrell should get a stadium set up. Since they might love to hear them name called Metamorphosis, Vibes FM. For that day when we really unite. Unity don't mean so we all agree, no. Unity means so we come together under a certain umbrella and certain ideological oneness. And that ideological oneness must be our blackness. Because when we look at the Olympics and we look at the races that are participating, races of people that are participating, it's very obvious. It is very, very obvious that it is the black race that dominates everything. Even, well, as a matter of fact, the Summer Olympics, because they are also the Winter Olympics. And in the Winter Olympics, we don't see many, many black people because we're not so much engaged in those icy sports. But we'll come to athletics and think that we are given an opportunity to train and practice and we can excel. The Reggae Boys, yeah. Remember the bobsledders? Right here in Jamaica, you know, we have men who go to the Winter Olympics. And we don't grow no ice in Jamaica. We don't grow snow here. But we have the capacity to adapt And so we were able to adapt and send a team to the Winter Olympics and create a wave that led to a movie called Cool Running. That is the power of our sporting capacity. We must not ignore it. Because the man with the masters and the PhD oftentimes cannot earn half of what a sportsman can earn. What the sportsman must learn to do now is invest his earnings. Yes, investing. That's a whole different science. So too many of time we simply earn and spend. He asks a black man what money make for, he say money make for spend. He asks people other races, they say money make to save and invest. Our sportsmen, and Usain Bolt now has begun to lead the way because what the youth has done is set up his own business outside of running. And the younger generation of athletes are learning the lesson what the older athletes and sportsmen fail to follow. They're refusing now to end up being broke 5 years after the career. And you can know the success of an athlete or a sportsman not when he's performing, but check him out 5 and 10 years when he's no longer performing. Then we realize whether it's really a success or not. Because it's about managing your resources. It's about projecting beyond your own career. It's about seeing that sport is a window. It's a window that has a lifespan in it that is limited. Injuries are always a threat, but it's a risk. And in everything we do that is adventurous and hopefully beneficial, there is some level of risk that we take. So sports in Jamaica and the Olympics, it has brought our country to another high point. The same way we united in the 1838 emancipation. The same way we united when the Reggae Boys qualified for France. It's the same pride we now feel being generated from our athletes in London. You know, so in the 50s, or rather in the 70s, all Caribbean people could walk through England and hold up them head, you know, because we used to get the English cricket side with enough whoppings. 2-5 love will get them. And it puts a certain amount of pride in your step. And I can imagine right now in London, everybody who's connected to black, green, and gold, stepping with shoulders high, feeling a sense of pride, generated by who? By the emancipated slaves from this island, or runners, who in high school are considered nobody because they don't have any CXCs and they don't have any A's. Now they become our heroes. And our rich heroes. Sports is business. Big business.
I stand strong in a Babylon. 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 I didn't do no wrong.
Yeah, so where's Rastafari now in all of
I
this?
didn't do no wrong.
Where is Rastafari now in all of this? When is Rastafari now? Rastafari made a serious attempt to enter the world of sports, particularly through this island of Jamaica in the 1970s. Rastaman set up football teams, House of Dread, Black Lions, Wadada. But the society rejected the Rastaman. And they claimed the Rastaman was a problematic because the Rastaman refused to eat meat. And the Rastaman refused to eat salt. And the world told us that we can't be athletes unless we eat salt and eat red meat. And so the Rastaman became a problematic to those who govern society and sports in Jamaica. And if you look into our national teams, you don't find many man or woman who deal with Rastafari. Rastafari is a person from the high school level because the boys are not allowed to grow locks in the school. The Indian man can plait him here, China man can grow all kind of things, but the black youth is told not to grow his locks. And if he does grow his locks, he must cover it in a hat. And we see the Indians doing all kind of hairstyle with them children here, and they can come into school and there's no problem. But the African still being discriminated against. And so Rastafari have to step aside. Because those who govern sports definitely don't want no Rastaman in it. And because Rastafari is associated with herb smoking, everybody thinks that Rasta smoke herb. So discrimination is high. Rastafari is still a sort of comic in the world of sports. And yet some of the greatest ballers in the 70s was Rastafari. Alan Still Cole, House of Dread. But you see those who call themselves governors and management, they oppress and they hate Rastafari. And so Rastafari have to just simply withdraw almost from all sports and hold the corners. Because they say Rastaman must own it in entertainment. Rastaman must just make broom. The Rastaman said, no, we bond that. And we're going to advance in all fields. In the same way we're encouraging black people to move not only from sports, but to move into academia, move into science and technology, move into the military. Because Power Garvey says we need from all spaces. So sports has been our avenue to release ourselves from chattel life. It can take us further yet still. But we must now become owners of stadia, owners of the media, owners of manufacturing companies of gears. Only black man can't own a football shoes factory yet. But we can't make the gears. Leg of the hemp, so we can make some reggae gears. Coming right out of Jamaica. Ice green and gold. Metamorphosis. Iman Blak. In studio. I want to hail up Danny Hutchinson. Danny give you a call from New York. He said, man, Jacko, a good bridge in long time. Was Eli. I want to hail up Jachild again and V Lioness visiting the island. And Suel and the technical staff, ballers. We're going to look at football tournament tomorrow out in Golden Grove. 4 high schools will be there, Bagwalk, Ozemati, Ascot, and the host team, St. Thomas Technical. Football starts at 9 o'clock, 40-minute games. And so entertainment goes on. Next time I come to Metamorphosis, I'll tell you where I was and what happened in my journey into scammer country. Woke up all kind of people across the island, traveling through the 13 of the 14 parishes, playing football in 8 parishes, taking some boys outside of their normal borders. 2 sports, exposure, giving the youth a chance to come to know themselves, test themselves, know their own capacities, being able to fall down and to pick up themselves. In the classroom, no such opportunity, no public pressure. In the world of sports, all spectators always know what the performer should do. All spectators always know who the coach should play. All spectators always know more than those who are performing. But that's the beauty about sports, because it's an individual connection. It's an emotion. And like Pele said, football can be described in one word. Football is emotion. Sports is emotion. Let us control it for the betterment of all. Metamorphosis. Iman Blak. Vibes FM. Yeah, make we do it. Make we wrap up some more medals in the Olympics and nice of yourself. Make we do it. But we don't need a big parade when the man come back, you know. Just use the money. Make we do it. Something more positive. Make a bill with the money that's going to go in the party. Yeah, make a bill at Usain Bolt Park. Yeah, man. A park. A theme park. Something institutional that the next generation can come and see and appreciate love. What the great sportsmen and sportswomen of Jamaica and the Caribbean and the world have done for I in the process of liberating black self. I also want to hail up Novelette. Novelette is the first I see since the 80s. The first woman important to another that I love. Yeah, very, very good to see the eye. Yeah, I remind her of myself. Yeah, man, when I was cute. Peace and love, my sister.
Ready, make we do it. And if you're ready, make we do it. Ready, make we do it. And if you're ready, make we do it. And make we do it. And make we do it.
And again, I want to give thanks to Osa Bora and Wulde Makonnen, who sat in the seat of the Metamorphosis and steered skillfully the listeners who I love and appreciate love even more and more. You know, at a distance, we begin to recognize how much we are connected. Yeah, so my little time off made me recognize that, yeah, something I want at style and the Metamorphosis. Just stay tuned. DJ them say, keep it locked. Keep it locked.
Ready, make we do it. And if you're ready, make we do it. I 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 make we do it. Make we do it for Jah. Make we do it. Jah Rastafari. Make we do it. Roots and culture. I make we do it. I make we do it. I make we do it. I make we do it.
Hey, Osa. Yeah, I call, but I man missed the call. But you know where we go. Technology. We shall link in cyberspace in the next program. Gonna give thanks again for being here. Been a very, very good experience. Of course, we are all engaged in the Olympics. And we hope that the ones who have been listening have a sort of different perspective to view these great games. The World Cup is coming up in 2014, another settings. But we continue to work towards the liberation of our consciousness through information, because information is power. And we want to empower the people that we can continue to struggle to remove ourselves from this plantation, this global plantation that holds our meditation. Rastafari lives, and we give thanks for the opportunity to share. Peace, love, prosperity unto the eye, and the eye, and the eye, in all the eye them doings, in the eye treadings, and in the eye places. Family, school, home, relation. Rastafari bless, Iman Blak out.
We are